What happens when the leader of a regional power, commanding more than 80 million citizens and one of the world's largest missile arsenals, is suddenly killed in wartime and replaced within days by a largely unseen successor from inside the same ruling family? While missiles and drones cross the Middle East, a deeper question emerges about how Iran's political system absorbs shock during open conflict and whether this succession signals stability or escalation. If the confrontation between Iran, the United States, and Israel expands beyond the current air and missile exchanges, the consequences could reshape energy flows, global shipping routes, and military alliances across 3 continents. Nearly 20% of the world's traded oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz, a corridor Iranian forces can threaten within minutes. A prolonged war would place that artery under constant risk, while also testing whether Iran's leadership structure can transition power during external attack. Since the 1979 Islamic Revolution overthrew the monarchy of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Iran has operated under a hybrid system, combining republican institutions with clerical authority. The supreme leader sits above elected bodies, controlling the armed forces, state broadcasting, judiciary, and strategic security policy. Ali Khamenei held that position from 1989 until his death in a joint United States-Israeli strike on Tehran on February 28 at the start of the current war. His assassination marked the first time a sitting Iranian supreme leader was killed by foreign military action. Within days, the 88-member Assembly of Experts, the clerical body constitutionally responsible for choosing the country's top authority, announced that Mojtaba Khamenei, aged 56, would assume the role. The decision was presented domestically as a rapid move to prevent institutional paralysis, while Iran faced coordinated airstrikes on infrastructure, bases, and energy facilities. Senior officials, including Security Council Chief Ali Larijani and Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, signaled immediate loyalty, urging political factions and military units to consolidate behind the new leadership. Unlike his father, Mojtaba Khamenei has never run in a national election, delivered major public speeches, or held cabinet office. Yet, for nearly 2 decades, analysts and diplomats have described him as a central operator within the leadership network surrounding the previous supreme leader. He studied theology in the seminaries of Qom and holds the clerical rank of Hujjatul Islam, below the senior title of Ayatollah, but similar to the level his father held before assuming power in 1989. Over time, he cultivated relationships with commanders inside the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, particularly veterans who served during the Iran-Iraq War. Those connections matter because the Revolutionary Guard today controls large segments of Iran's missile program, drone fleets, regional proxy networks, and strategic industries. According to Iranian military statements, its forces have launched hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones during the first 9 days of fighting, while Israeli aircraft struck multiple oil storage sites around Tehran, sending smoke across the capital. The Guard has indicated that existing stockpiles could sustain operations for roughly 6 months if escalation continues. One scenario now discussed by security planners considers what happens if Mojtaba Khamenei chooses immediate retaliation using longer-range missiles that Iran has so far withheld. Such systems are believed to reach beyond 2,000 kilometers, placing additional military bases, shipping lanes, and possibly European territory within theoretical range. A second scenario examines the opposite outcome. If the new leadership calculates that regime survival requires de-escalation, Tehran could quietly explore indirect negotiations through intermediaries such as Gulf states or European governments seeking a ceasefire before infrastructure losses deepen. The wider geopolitical landscape complicates both possibilities. The United States maintains roughly 40,000 troops across bases in the Middle East, while Israel fields advanced missile defense layers, including Arrow and David's sling designed to intercept ballistic threats. Meanwhile, regional economies from Egypt to Pakistan depend on stable energy prices and shipping insurance rates that spike whenever conflict approaches the Persian Gulf. India, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has attempted to balance strategic ties with Israel, expanding economic engagement with Gulf states and limited trade channels with Iran. Yet critics inside India argue that inconsistent diplomacy and slow crisis planning have reduced New Delhi's ability to influence events despite importing large volumes of regional energy. For Tehran, the leadership transition also carries symbolic weight. The Islamic Republic was founded partly in rejection of hereditary monarchy, yet the rise of a son to replace his father invites comparisons to dynastic succession. Critics argue that this perception could intensify domestic frustration, especially after years of economic pressure, sanctions, and inflation that has frequently exceeded 40%, according to international financial estimates. Supporters within the establishment counter that wartime continuity and loyalty inside the security apparatus matter more than clerical rank or electoral legitimacy when the state itself faces foreign attack. Whether Mojtaba Khamenei ultimately governs as a temporary wartime figure or a long-term supreme leader will depend on battlefield outcomes, economic resilience, and internal elite cohesion. If Iranian missile capacity continues disrupting regional infrastructure, the conflict could draw additional actors into direct confrontation, transforming a localized campaign into a broader Middle Eastern war. But if back-channel diplomacy manages to freeze the fighting before critical oil export terminals or shipping choke points close, the succession might gradually stabilize the political system despite its violent origins. The coming months will test more than one individual. They will reveal how resilient Iran's governing architecture truly is after the loss of a leader who dominated its strategy for nearly 4 decades. Observers should watch 3 signals in particular: the tempo of missile launches, the unity of Revolutionary Guard Command, and any quiet diplomatic channels emerging behind battlefield noise, because those indicators will show whether the new era in Tehran moves toward prolonged confrontation or an uneasy recalibration of power across the region and the wider international system. The story unfolding after the death of Ali Khamenei is therefore not only about succession, but about whether institutions built during revolution can withstand simultaneous military pressure and leadership shock. If they hold, the Islamic Republic may emerge hardened yet intact. If they fracture, the Middle East could enter a far less predictable strategic era shaped by uncertainty, deterrence failures, and rapidly shifting alliances that extend well beyond Iran's borders soon ahead.